Hu Tao's coming out very strong, and take a look at her again right before she's launching. But so you guys know, the Staff of Homa, which is the weapon design specifically for her, no one else can use it like she can, is dropping this week. It's coming out. I do believe it's going to be the 23rd of February. And we know now that the characters, they've changed up the banners, right? Used to be like every 3 weeks, now it's like every 2 weeks. So we just had the Kaching banner coming out with the launch of 1.3, or shortly after, I should say, after the Zhao banner ended. And now that banner is going to go for 2 weeks, and then that banner is going to end, and it's going to be in the middle of this banner. So I would expect that Hu Tao is going to be being launched with that banner on top of that. So keep that in mind as we go through this stuff. If you are looking forward to the Staff of Homa, I'm going to have a video launching maybe a couple hours after this one. I'm going to be taking a look at that. I'll do that video right after we get done with this one. It's an exceptionally strong weapon for that character. It is so good. But let's take a look at Hu Tao for you guys, so you guys get caught up, and so you guys can really realize what sort of changes have happened with her, what she's going to be about. We're not going to drone on too long about this, and I'll have all the links for you guys down in the descriptions below as well. So Hu Tao is an HP character. You're building health on her, and this is because her weapon, the Staff of Homa, which is launching tomorrow, I would say, by the time this video comes out, and as well as, might be today actually, but as well as her own kit is HP to attack percent scaling. She gives herself crit damage. The weapon has crit damage. That's awesome there. Her base attack is very low. This is because she's getting her damage from an elemental skill that changes her HP to her attack. Same thing that the polearm does. The polearm gives you a larger HP to attack benefit where you're in lower HP, and this is exactly what her elemental skill does here. Guide to Afterlife. So I'll have some of the footage playing for you guys, some of the leaked-ish stuff, so you guys can get your eyeballs on that. If it's a little bit greenier-ish, you guys might figure out why. All right, gotta dodge, gotta get around them. We gotta have 100% evasion here on the channel. Anyway, this is really what it's all about. So she hurts herself when she uses the skill 30% of her current HP, right? When you're 50% of your max HP lower than your max, with the weapon, you're going to get a larger bonus from the weapon itself. So that's really what the Staff of Homa is about there. So you use this skill 2 times, you're going to be able to trigger the passive on the weapon. You're going to have lower HP here as well, and then her elemental burst has a higher multiplier when she's sub 50% HP. So the weapon wants you sub 50% HP, the elemental burst wants you sub 50% HP, your elemental skill gives you that sub 50% HP, gives you the ability to just do that self-infliction of damage, and then on top of that, not only does the elemental skill do that self HP damage, but remember, the weapon wants you to have high HP because it's HP to attack percent, and her elemental skill does the same thing, HP to attack percent. So at level 13, say you have her maxed out, you got the Constellation to get this all the way up to 13 instead of 10, 7.15% of your max HP goes to your attack. If you have the weapon maxed out as well, you're gonna have the ability to get like an additional, I think it's off the top of my head, like 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, might even be like 3.4 HP to attack percent there. So let's just say 3. So you have 10% of your max HP converted to attack. That is a significant amount. We did the math on this, and it's very easy. If you had those both maxed out, or maybe you just had R1 of the weapon, you can get like 2,000, 3,000 attack straight up just from your HP during your elemental skills. You're going to see some very, 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 very high attack Hu Tao's out there, and she's going to be the queen of burst damage, and we're almost finished mathing all that stuff out, so you guys can know exactly how much damage you can be looking forward to be doing with her. And I'm going to say this right now, she's going to be the highest, easiest to pull off single hit burst damage character in the game. She's gonna be that YouTube / Twitch clip highlight character where she smacks somebody with their elemental burst and they just disintegrate into the afterlife, basically. But that's what she's about here. She's about this elemental skill. While this elemental skill's up, 9-second duration, you're gonna have all of your attacks also converted to pyro damage. So all of your normal attacks, your charge attacks, your plunging attacks, these are all pyro damage as well. So this will be a fantastic elemental skill for her. Now the one downside of her right here is it's a 9-second duration and a 16-second cooldown. So you're gonna have it available for 9 seconds, and then for 7 seconds you're gonna hit like a wet noodle. You're not gonna do pyro damage or anything. It's going to be kind of bad news bears for you there, but that's really what she's going to be designed around, right? She's going to be designed around coming in, E and doing a bunch of damage, swapping out and going to a secondary character. So she's like a swap burst damage, swap out character there. Her elemental burst also facilitates this gameplay because she swaps in, she hits a whole bunch of enemies with a big AoE one time, and then she goes back into her Pokeball. Basically, she heals herself up as well, and she is ready to come back out, you know, 9 seconds later when her elemental skill is back up and ready, or 7 seconds, should I say there. So that's really how she's going to play out there, guys. She's going to come in, you're going to E, you're going to hit yourself for 30% of your current HP. You're going to do a bunch of damage with the normal attacks, your charge attacks. You're going to swap her back out. You can, you know, fiddle around with, you know, your Sucrose or your Bennett or whoever it is that you're going to be setting up for the big burst damage. You're going to swap her in. You're going to E again, which is going to drop you below that 50% HP threshold, because it's 30% of your current HP. So if you come in at full, you're at 100% HP. Hit yourself for 30% current, you go down to 70. You swap out, you swap back in, you hit yourself for 30% of your current HP, and it's going to put you just below 50% HP. And then as soon as you use that E, you're going to use your elemental burst, and you're going to smack them all right there. If you have some sort of heal going on, you're definitely going to want to do that right away. However, if you don't have any heals going on, you have Bennett ult going on, or Barbara healing, or any healing going on, you come back in on that second E, you do your normal attacks, your charge attacks, you hit them up for a bunch of damage, and then you want to Spirit Soother and you want to melt them there. So the easiest way you're going to be doing this is, like I said, you're going to come in E, swap out after you do your attacks, and you're going to come back in, you're going to E them again, and ideally you can have something like Ganyu ult floating around you, Kea ult floating around you, Diona ult floating around you, so you get that constant cryo AoE damage, because you're easily going to be doing pyro damage. That's going to melt for some good damage, and then you're going to melt them again with Spirit Soother. And that's really where that big damage comes from, right? 617% at the low HP skill damage, but you're going to have this massive, massive, massive attack buff, right? 3,500 or more attack, high crit damage, right? Because her weapon's going to have crit damage on it. She's going to have crit damage. You're going to have like a fourth, you know, a 3.5k tag, maybe even higher if you have another external buff. You have the Viridescent set in your party. You're going to have that minus pyro resist down. You're going to have like, you know, 200 and something crit damage, and you're just going to smack that juicy melted crit. You get that C6 Diana given 200 elemental mastery. You get that Sucrose given 200 elemental mastery. It's going to be a good time. You're going to melt them, double your damage on top of the elemental mash. It's going to be a good time. We're going to look forward to all that math stuff as well for that video to be coming out there, guys. But this is going to be the way that you're going to be using her. Hopefully we didn't fiddle around too much there. And as far as constellations go, I mean, honestly, I don't think any of them are like super ridiculously broken for her. The one everyone talks about is the Constellation 6 one. When her HP drops below 25%, or she gets a lethal strike against her, she doesn't die. Instead, what happens here is she stays at 1 HP, and she's also not going to be able to die. Her element and physical resist goes up by 200%. Her crit rate is increased by 100% there. And she cannot be pretty much interrupted. She has super high resistance to interruption. It's got a 60-second cooldown there, so it lets you to be very, 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 what's the word I want to look for? Aggressive. You want to be as aggressive as possible. You guys might not need to use this one, so I think it's a little overhyped. It is cool in concept, but so you can get in there, you can just go down there to 1 HP, use that E, get in there, do a bunch of damage. But really what happens here, it's going to be very hard for me to see this one actually working out if you're playing her correctly, because you're going to be healing off of your elemental burst. Hits and heals for a bunch. Remember, it heals for, at level 10 here, 13.6% of your max HP, and it's per enemy hit, so you can hit up to 5 enemies, so you can get up to like 65, 70% ish. I think 70% is a little bit high there. But you can get like 65% of your max HP back there, and that is pretty powerful. That's almost a full heal, especially if you come in, you hit yourself for 30, you hit yourself for 30 again, and then you heal yourself for 65. That's pretty good there. Very strong AoE. Now the heal will go down if you're not in a AoE situation. Maybe you're fighting one big dude in the Abyss. You're fighting your weekly world boss. You're fighting Dvalin or something, because Dvalin's so hard. We need to really rate characters on how well they beat Dvalin. But keep that in mind as a consideration for like maybe needing a healer in those situations. However, if you're fighting a bunch of AoE stuff, you probably actually don't even need a healer in your party. You're just looking for buffing up her damage, which is very, very nice indeed as well. So Hu Tao's looking very good, guys. Look forward to that video for her damage. I'm releasing the weapon video not too long after this one, earlier or later today, to see that video as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, get all that stuff out there. We have Genshin news, updates, mass stuff, builds, all the cool stuff on the channel. I want to see you guys with smiling faces down there. As always, tell me what your best big booty builds have been. That's a lot of B's in the past couple of weeks, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.